Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to start with CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science, December 2015, Part C, Series 7. So in this series, we are going to cover with 15 questions of this series. By this, the entire December 2015 question paper is going to be completed in today's session, right? Earlier, we completed 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20 academic year, both the sessions question papers of CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science. All detailed solved question papers are available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry, right? This kind of standard previous year question paper discussion will fetching you towards your entrance examination preparation and competitive exams, any research aspiration you have. For all this, it will be very much helpful for you. So let us discuss about today's topic. This is a CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science, December 2015, Part C, Series 7, consisting questions from 131 to 145. Let us go with question number 131. The spectroscopic technique that can distinguish unambiguously between trans 1,2-dichloroethylene, cis 1,2-dichloroethylene without any numerical calculation is, okay, it is the part of spectroscopic analytical technique. So applications of spectroscopy, where we have to identify geometrical isomers of cis and trans isomers. Okay, here they have given microwave, UV visible, X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, gamma ray spectroscopy. All these are provided, among all which is suitable to identify distinguish cis and trans isomers of any kind of compound which were taken. So in general, cis-trans isomers can be identified by three methods. One is NMR spectroscopy, second is IR spectroscopy, third is microwave spectroscopy, right? So here microwave spectroscopy given in the question, that's why it will be the suitable answer. Then what is the principle involved in this? Microwave spectroscopy mainly operated based on change in the dipole moment. These two compounds having different dipole moment values. Obviously, trans isomer will be more symmetric when compared to cis. That's why cis isomer have more dipole moment when compared to trans. That's the reason why change in the dipole moment, it is very convenient to identify which isomer belongs to the given compound, right? So here mainly microwave spectroscopy is associated with rotational kind of transitions and majorly depends upon the change in dipole moment. This is the main selection rule in order to operate this microwave spectroscopy, right? So along with this, IR and NMR also used for the distinction of trans and cis isomers of any organic compound. Geometrical isomers are clearly distinguished by using this microwave spectroscopy. Let us go with remaining options also. UV visible can be applied for the identification of conjugation present in the compound. How extent the given compound is conjugated, so that can be easily predicted by UV visible. X-ray diffraction spectroscopy is a specific for interplanar distance and the crystallinity of the given compound. Whether the compound is crystalline or amorphous can be identified by using X-ray, and interplanar distance can be determined by using X-ray diffraction patterns. Gamma ray spectroscopy is specific for the identification of radioisotopes, especially used in nuclear chemistry. That's why the suitable answer for this question number 131 is correct. First one, the correct answer will be answer number 1. Let us move on to question number 132. It is the part of molecular orbital theory, right? The ground state electronic configuration of C2 molecule using all the electrons is, okay, when we combine two carbon atoms, molecular orbital diagram will be constructed and subsequently its MOT electronic configuration we can write. First, let us see how can we construct MOT diagram of carbon molecule. It will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p2 electronic configuration. Carbon being it is 6 electron system, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2 will be the electronic configuration. When we take two carbon atoms, they are combining in such a way, 1s2 orbitals when combined sigma 1 is and sigma star 1 is orbital. That means one bonding, neither anti-bonding orbitals will be originated, and they are distributed with 4 electrons. First electrons entered into bonding, and subsequently anti-bonding orbital get filled here, and followed by 2s orbital. 2s2 electrons will be there. Total 4 electrons will be contributed in 2 sigma bonding 2 electrons, 2 sigma anti-bonding 2 electrons. Later 2p electrons, here we have 2p electrons are there. Total 4 electrons will be distributed sigma pi orbitals first. There is a certain change in below than half filled electronic below than half filled p orbitals and above than half filled. That means till nitrogen orbital distribution will be in this manner. Here pi 2p x pi 2p y orbitals are laying down. So above half filled, that means if we are taking 2p4 for oxygen atom, this kind of distribution will be inverted. Sigma orbital will come down, pi orbital will go up. Okay, so being it is less than half filled system, so 2p2 means more one electron is there in order to get half filled system, right? That's the reason why here pi 2px and pi 2py orbitals got filled with the 4 electrons, and here this will be the electronic configuration. How can we write? Electronic molecular orbital electronic configuration for this carbon molecule in accordance with MOT theory: sigma 1 is 2, sigma star 1 is 2, sigma 2 is 2, sigma star 2 is 2. Then pi 2px2, pi 2py2. Being these two are degenerated, just like you can indicate pi 2p4, right? So being both are degenerated in nature, so it can be indicated in this manner also, right? So this exact configuration mentioned in option number 4. This is purely based on Arbo principle, Hund's rule, and also Pauli's exclusion principle, right? For question number 132, option number 4 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 133. Vmax and Km for enzyme catalyzed reaction are 2.0 into 10 to the power minus 3 mole second inverse and 1.0 into 10 to the power minus 6 moles respectively. The rate of reaction when the substrate concentration is 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 mole is, right? So this is a question from Michael-Menten equation, right? Let us apply Michael-Menten equation. Rate of the reaction is given by Vmax S naught by Kmf S naught, where rate of the reaction is equal to Vmax value is given within the problem. How much it is? 2.0 into 10 to the power minus 3. 2.0 into 10 to the power minus 3 S naught. Substrate concentration. How much? Substrate concentration is also given. Substrate concentration is 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. So Vmax is 2 into 10 to the power minus 3 into 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 by Km value. What is the Km value? 2 into 10 to the power minus 3. Km is 2 into 10 to the power, 2 into 10 to the power minus 3 belongs to Km. Sorry, Vmax. Km is 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. So here 1 into 10 to the power minus 6, and F value is taken as 1, and S naught value, substrate concentration, again that is 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 can be taken, right? So when we apply all these values are known, then rate of the reaction can be taken as, so here in the numerator denominator values are there. 2 into 10 to the power, here you can clearly observe that 2 into 10 to the power minus 3, 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. Here base 10 is there, power values are negative, so that we can add both the values. Minus 3, minus 6, it will become minus 9. In the denominator, it can be taken as 2 into 10 to the power minus 6. So 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 plus 1 into 10 to the power minus 6, it will become 2 into 10 to the power minus 6, right? So that here in the numerator and denominator, 2 get cancelled. 10 to the power minus 9, 10 to the power minus 6. What will be the balanced term? 10 to the power minus 3 will be there. So here rate of the reaction is equal to 1 into 10 to the power minus 3 second inverse, because mole get cancelled. So that second inverse will left over. So that is given in the option number 2. 1 into 10 to the power minus 3 second inverse is the correct answer. This is based on Michael-Menten equation. The equation will be rate of the reaction is equal to Vmax into substrate concentration by Km into substrate concentration. When we apply all the given parameters, so that we will get the final answer. For question number 133, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 134. The first order rate constant for unimolecular gas-phase reaction A gives rise to products that follows Lindemann mechanism. 2 second inverse at Pa is equal to 1, 4 and 4.0 at Pa is equal to 2 atmosphere. The rate constant of the activation step will be, right? So rate constant to be predicted from this, it is the part of chemical kinetics. Lindemann mechanism is followed in this reaction. Now, rate of the reaction is equal to K1 into K2, A square by K1 into A plus K2 can be taken. If we compensate all the equal terms, so that rate is equal to K1 into A concentration. K1 into A concentration is given as 2.0 atmosphere inverse second inverse. If we substitute the value, we will get 2.0 atmosphere inverse second inverse. That is given in the option number 2. For question number 134, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 135. It is the question from group theory. The molecule diborane belongs to symmetry point group. Diborane is composed of B2H6. So BH3 is a borane molecule. Being it is electron deficient, in order to satisfy the octet configuration, always it exists in dimer form with a banana bound formation. So when we take this diborane, three centered two electron bonds will be there, and this is a representation of diborane where we have 2 hydrogen bridges and 4 terminal hydrogens will be there. When we apply the symmetry operations in this molecule, it is associated with C2 symmetry vertical plane, C2 symmetry horizontal plane, C2 symmetry in the z-axis plane. So in the 3 dimensions, it is associated with the 3 C2 axis, alternate axis of symmetry. And moreover, it is also contains sigma vertical plane, sigma horizontal plane, sigma diagonal plane. 3 plane of symmetries are available. 3 C2 axis of symmetry, 3 plane of symmetries are available as well. So that we can assign the point group of symmetry for this diborane will be D2H. D2H symmetry because 3 C2 and 3 sigma planes are available. C2 planes are oriented in which axis? C2X, C2Y, C2Z. In 3-dimensional ways, it can be inclined, and the sigma plane, sigma vertical, sigma horizontal, sigma diagonal, 3 kind of planes are also available. Hence, you can assign D2H symmetry for this diborane molecule. D2H symmetry is available in option number 4. For question number 135, option number 4 will be the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 136. Though a constant shift of energy levels of the system changes the partition function, the properties that do not change are, even we are changing the energy, so partition function will be changed, but some of the properties will not be changed, even energy will be changed. Those properties are expression of average energy, and the partition function is given by d by d beta ln z is equal to half d by d beta sigma experimental minus beta En is equal to minus u df by dt, right? Where volume and number of moles are kept constant. This is the equation in order to correlate energy and partition function. So that here energy partition function also changes, right? But F is equal to minus RT by ln Z. Based on this, it is very clear that average energy and entropy are not dependent upon this. So average energy and entropy are dependent on the temperature rather than energy. They purely depends upon the temperature change. As temperature changes, internal energy and entropy will be changed, because there is a correlation between internal energy and entropy with the temperature. They doesn't depends upon the energy. So average energy and entropy are provided in option number 2. So for question number 136, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 137. The vibrational frequency of homonuclear diatomic molecule is nu. The temperature at which population of a first excited state will be half that of ground state is given by, right? So we can derive this relation based on Boltzmann population. So this is this expression, this answer can be extracted from Boltzmann population law. That is N2 by N1 is equal to e to the power minus delta E by RT. N2 by N1 is equal to e to the power minus delta E by RT is the formula in order to extract the relation between this vibrational frequency of diatomic molecule at a ground state. According to given condition, N2 becomes what? 1 by 2 N1. N2 is equal to 1 by 2 N1 because both are reciprocal. Then 1 by 2 is equal to e to the power minus h nu by kt. Then ln 1 by t is equal to minus h nu by kt, which can be taken as ln2 is equal to h nu by kt. ln2 is equal to h nu by kt. Then t is equal to, it is required to get a t. T is equal to what happens? H nu by ln2 kb. Here have the relation, that is ln2 is equal to h nu by kt. From this, temperature can be calculated when temperature taken this side, h nu by k ln2. H nu by k ln2 is provided in option number 2. For question number 137, option number 2 is the correct answer. This is derived based on Boltzmann population law. Let us move on to question number 138. The irreducible representations of C2H are A gerade, B gerade, A ungerade, B ungerade. The Roman active modes of trans 1,3 butadiene belongs to irreducible representations are. Okay, so the possible C2H symmetry are given with 4 irreducible representations. Among all the 4 irreducible representations, which are Roman active modes for trans 1,3 butadiene, so those should be predicted. For that purpose, we have the entire table for C2H point group of symmetry. So here A gerade, B gerade, A ungerade, B ungerade terms are provided here. Linear rotation, E identity element, C2 axis of symmetry, and sigma plane. Here sigma horizontal plane is also given here, and linear rotation, then quadratic. So these are the terms which are used to represent this character table for C2H symmetry. And among all, this Raman active modes, when the molecule becomes, what is the condition for Raman active? If the molecule is symmetric, then you can say the molecule is Raman active and IR inactive, right? So in that case, A gerade and B ungerade both are completely symmetric in nature. So that here A gerade, B gerade are given as a Roman active modes for trans 1,3 butadiene molecule, right? For question number 138, option number 1 is the correct answer. A gerade, B gerade are provided in option number 1. So for 138, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 139. The symmetry allowed atomic transitions among the following, right? Again, it is the question from group theory, where point group symmetry are provided and which kind of transition is allowed. In order to predict this allowed transition, we have to follow 2 protocols. One is symmetry spin protocol, second is azimuthal quantum number, angular quantum number protocol. So delta A should not be changed. That means delta S is equal to 0. Then delta L value should be plus or minus 1. Delta S is equal to 0. Delta L is equal to plus or minus 1. Right? So these 2 protocols should be followed in order to get symmetry allowed kind of atomic transition. Delta L is nothing but parity of azimuthal will be changed by only 1 unit. Either higher to lower or lower to higher type of transition is allowed. In case of spin, there is no change in the spin parity will not be changed. So these 2 are the required conditions. Let us apply these 2 conditions for all the given options and we will predict which is symmetry allowed kind of transition. 3F 1D. 3F means what? Here spin is given as a 3. 2s plus 1 value is taken as 3. Here 2s plus 1 value taken as 1. 3 to 1 means what happens? Spin value is varied. But what is the condition required? Spin change should be 0. Spin retention is required. That's why first option discarded. Second option, spin parity will be 3 to 3. So it is allowed. 3 to 3 means there is no change in the spin state. And go with this delta L value, means this azimuthal quantum number value, F means L is equal to 3. D means L is equal to 2. 3 to 2 means what happened? 3 turned into 2, minus 1 is there. Minus 1 is also allowed here. Minus 1 is allowed, delta is 0 allowed. So that two conditions got satisfied in the option number 2. Hence, you can say this is a symmetry allowed kind of transition, second one. Let us consider remaining two options also. 3f to 1p. When 3f to 1p was taken, 3 to 1. So here spin parity is 3, spin parity is 1. But 3 to 1 is not allowed because spin retention is required. Then F to P is allowed. Sorry, F to P also not allowed because F means L is equal to 3. P means L is equal to 1. 3 to 1 means how much difference? Minus 2 difference is there. That is also not allowed. Means two guidelines are violated in case of option number 3. So delta L, delta S both got violated, hence we can't adopt this. And fourth one is 3f to 3p. So 3f to 3p spin is allowed, but this delta 8 parity will be changed. That means minus 2 difference is there. Again, you can discard this option number 4. Only the suitable option will be option number 2, where spin parity is allowed and azimuthal quantum number parity also allowed here, right? So option number 2 is the correct answer for question number 139. Let us move on to question number 140. The average end-to-end distance of random coil polymer 10 to the power 6 monomers in units of segmental length is. It is the question from polymer chemistry. Let us move on to find out this average end-to-end distance of this one. The average end-to-end distance of the polymer chain. In order to get this, we have the formula. Under root R square is equal to under root N into L. N denotes how many monomers are present in the given polymeric chain. L is the segmental length. How much length the polymeric chain is. R is nothing but end-to-end distance, radius it is. Okay, so now let us put whatever values we have. How many monomers are given within the problem? The polymer consisting 10 to the power 6 monomers. So that N value is 10 to the power 6. Under root R square is equal to under root 10 to the power 6 L. Then under root R square is given by root 10 to the power 6 is nothing but 10 to the power 3 L. So under root R square is equal to 10 to the power 3 L. So this is the correct answer. L denotes what? Segmental length. They are asking the value in segmental length only. So 10 to the power 3, that is provided in option number 4. For question number 140, option number 4 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 141. The reversible expansion, 1 mole of ideal gas is carried out from 1 liter to 4 liters under isothermal conditions at 300 Kelvin. Delta G for this process. G denotes what? Free energy, right? So for this question, we have to depict the delta G value. It is the question from thermodynamics. Now, the relation is delta G is equal to W max. W D is equal to minus RT ln V square, right? So minus R, T is the temperature, that is 300 Kelvin, isothermal condition, being the entire process carried at 300 Kelvin only, right? Minus R into 300 into ln V square is nothing but 2 square. The value of V will be 2 here. 2 square will be taken, right? So here, whenever log any value to the power, that power can be written in front of log. So that we can write minus R into 300 into 2 ln 2 it will be. So here 300 into 2, it will be 600. Minus 600 R ln 2 is the final answer. This is the question with reference from Physical Chemistry Atkins textbook. You can refer this question from this textbook, Atkins, Physical Chemistry written by Atkins. Minus 600 R ln 2. Minus 600 R ln 2 is provided in option number 3. For question number 141, option number 3 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 142. The temperature dependence of vapor pressure solid A can be represented by log P is equal to 10 minus 1800. That of liquid A by log P is equal to 8 minus 1400 by T. The temperature of the triple point is. It is the question from phase rule. Now we have to predict at which temperature triple point is coexisted, that to be predicted. For that purpose, a triple point corresponds to unique value of the pressure. Hence, two equations for the pressure must equate the same value. So when we are going to find out the triple point, so we have to equate both the equations. So equations provided within the problem. What equations? Log P is equal to 10 minus 1800 by T. Log P is equal to 8 minus 1400 by T. Both the equations are exactly equal in order to predict this triple pointer, because triple point is nothing but coexistence of all the phases at one particular point. That is called the triple pointer, right? So that we are going to equal equations. 10 minus 1800 by T is equal to 8 minus 1400 by T. Now we can get the relation. So here the 10 minus 8, the difference will be 2, right? So 1800 minus 1400 by T, 2 is equal to 1800 minus 1400 by T. So the difference will be 400 by 2. Temperature, his difference is taken as 2. Then no, temperature can be taken this side, 2 will be taken this right hand side. We have to predict the temperature, that only required for us. So that here temperature is equal to 1800 minus 1400 by 2. The difference will be 400 by 2. 400 by 2 is nothing but 200 Kelvin. So here triple point can be coexisted at 200 Kelvin. Okay, so this is purely temperature dependent. Vapor pressure of the solid, that will be available at 200 Kelvin. This is a question from phase rule. For question number 142, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 143. The non-spontaneous process among the following. What is called spontaneous? What is called non-spontaneous? If you are taking river, always river having tendency to flow to downfield, right? It is not possible to move the river from down to upper region. So that is called spontaneity. So whatever the process which occurs in the nature without any impact, that is called a spontaneous reaction, right? So what will be the non-spontaneous reaction from all these? We have to predict. Vaporization of superheated water at 105 and 1 atmosphere. Obviously, when any water heated at 105, water will boil at 100, right? If you are heating to 105, obviously it will be vaporized. So it will be the spontaneous. Expansion of the gas into vacuum. Always gas having tendency to equalize the pressure. Vacuum is nothing but zero pressure. Whenever we are pumping any gas into that, it will be fastly moving into the vacuum, because in order to get the equilibrium, so that expansion of gas is spontaneous process into vacuum. When we are taking freezing of supercooled water, so supercooled water is nothing but, so whenever we are taking water, so that is available in three possible natural states. One is called a vapor state, second is called a liquid water state, third is called a solid ice state. These three are the possible physical states of the water. But when we are cooling water very carefully, what happens? Below than 0 degrees, so it will exist in the equilibrium with the liquid water. That is called a metastable curve. In accordance with the phase rule, there is a possibility of metastable curve. Actually, water melt at water will freeze at 0 degrees. So 0 degrees considered as it's a freezing point. And also what boiling, so ice will be boiled and converted into liquid, right? So but careful cooling of water below it means we are changing the pressure conditions will be varied. So even below 0 also it is possible to get water in the liquid state, right? So that is known as metastable curve. So on this metastable curve, liquid water is existed even below than 0 degrees centigrade. But when we are adding small amount of ice piece, very small fraction of ice piece to that metastable water, what happens? Entire water will be solidified now. Entirely it becomes solidified water. This process, so addition of ice piece only, that means we are intentionally adding small piece of ice to that, so that it will be the non-spontaneous. It is not occurring in nature. So just we are doing that thing, right? So that's why you can say it. So this solidification of metastable water into ice is a non-spontaneous process. This is possible only when we are adding intentionally small piece of ice, right? So that is the non-spontaneous. And fourth is about freezing of water as 0. When we are maintaining 0 degrees, obviously water will be solidified. That is a natural process, right? Only the option number 3 belongs to non-spontaneous. So for question number 143, option number 3 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 144. The radial part of hydrogenic wave function is given as r into alpha minus r to the power minus beta r. Alpha, beta are constants in this. This function is then identifiable as. So if radial part is provided, from this radial part, it is possible to depict its orbital. Which orbital it is? Okay. So this is a question from quantum theory, right? Radial part of hydrogenic wave function is given as r into alpha minus r to the power beta r is given, right? So when radial part in general formula L minus pi to the power minus beta g, right? So this is the formula here. This corresponds to one radial node. This denotes what? L minus pi when given, this denotes one radial node is need. So what is the formula in order to predict the radial node? The radial node empirical formula is n minus L minus 1. N denotes principal quantum number, L denotes azimuthal quantum number, 1 is the integer value, n minus L minus 1 is equal to radial node, number of radial nodes. So from this equation, it is very clear that 1 is the radial node. That means we know the answer. From this answer, we have to predict what is n value, what is L value, right? So when we take n is equal to 3, L is equal to 1, it is possible to get one radial node. So let us substitute principal quantum number 3. 3 minus L is 1. 3 minus 1, how much it will be? 2. 2 minus 1, how much it will be? 1. So that we will get one radial node. Whatever problem is there, that compensated, that clarified. Okay. N minus L minus 1 is the radial node prediction. So similar to predict the radial nodes. So n is equal to 3, L is equal to 1. When substituted, then we will get one radial node. So n is equal to 3 denotes what? It is the principal quantum number. L is equal to 1 means which orbital it is? P orbital. Obviously, now the orbital wave function will be 3p. 3p is provided in option number 2. For question number 144, option number 2 is the correct answer. So 3p. So how we depicted this? Based on this formula, number of radial nodes formula, we depicted it is the 3p orbital. Let us move on to question number 145. Last question of the series. Again, it is from physical chemistry. A normalized state pi is constructed as a linear combination of ground state psi naught and first excited state psi 1 of some harmonic oscillator with energies 1/2 and 3/2 units respectively. If average energy of pi is 7/6, the probability of finding psi naught and pi will be. So how can you identify psi naught and pi values? So we have to depict this one. Let us see. According to Schrodinger equation, H psi is equal to E psi. H is the harmonic operator, E is the energy, psi is the wave function. This Hamiltonian operator wave function will give the same wave function back with the eigenvalue. Here, eigenvalue first two states given by 1/2 and 3/2, that is provided within the problem, right? So two energies are given 1/2 and 3/2. So linear combination is given as C1 0 plus C2 1 is given by E1 and C2 normalized constants. So these two are the normalized constants. Now the integrated value is given as integration limitation from -infinity to +infinity. Pi star pi d tau is equal to 1. Pi star pi d tau is equal to 1. Now it can be expanded based on the term values. E1 square psi 1 square plus C2 square psi 1 square plus 2 C1 C2 psi 1 psi naught dz is equal to 0. Right? So this is the normalized wave function equation. Then first term integral vehicle due to orthogonal C1 square plus C1 square is equal to 1. Now it is easy to find out the expected value. So how it will be? Hamiltonian operator is equal to sigma n C mod Cn square E is equal to sigma n mod Cn square into n plus half h cut omega. This is the empirical formula in order to predict the Hamiltonian operator. Then H operator, Hamiltonian operator is given by C1 square into 1 by 2 h cut omega plus C1 squares into 3 by 2 h cut omega. So already we know C1 square plus C2 square is equal to 1. So this term is already known to us. Now we can predict minus C1 square plus minus C1 square is given by, the value is given by 1 by 7. So that is given by, within the problem they mentioned, that is given by 7 by 6. The value is given by 7 by 6. Okay. Now we can substitute this value here. C1 square plus C2 square is equal to minus C1 square plus 3 by 2 C2 square is equal to 7 by 6. Right. So from this it is clear that C1 square is given by 2 by 6. 2 by 6 nothing but 1 by 3. So that is the value. 1 by 3 is provided in option number 2. For question number 145, option number 2 is the correct answer. By this, we completed CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science, December 2015, Part C, Series 7. By this entire session of 2015 question papers have been completed. All solved papers will be available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry. Hope it will be very much helpful for your preparation. Thank you very much for your consistent listening. Thank you one and all.